Welcome to today's webinar. I'm pleased to introduce you to today's speaker, Kelly Keaton. Kelly is our Sales Solution Manager for Human Resources. Kelly brings 21 years of HR experience to her role. And prior to joining Perceptive Software, she spent 10 years in executive-level HR roles at various organizations in the high-tech industry, most recently H&R Block. Kelly has degrees in psychology and business admin from Drury University. She has also been active in the national and local SHRM chapters throughout her career.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and welcome everyone to today's session. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk about Perceptive Software's employee management solutions for HR, and in particular the Personnel Action Form. So as I think about my experience as an HR professional, I'm sure many of you would agree with me that probably the most commonly used form that we have in human resources is the Personnel Action Form. And unfortunately, it's not always the easiest to use or the most efficient. And what I'd like to do today is show you some efficiencies that we can create in our paths. Before I jump into the form itself, I'll share with you just a quick bit about our solutions in HR. Perceptive Software can create an electronic personnel filing cabinet for you, so taking the paper out of your filing cabinets. And in addition to that, we've created HR solutions that can help you with processes and approval processes for forms throughout the solutions and transactions within HR. We've set this up in a chronological order for the employee life cycle, starting with, of course, recruitment, and then next, onboarding. And when we say onboarding, we're talking specifically about the new hire paperwork when an employee begins employment at your company. Next, we have an employee management solution, and we'll talk about this more today, but what we're talking about here is any transaction that takes place during the active tenure of an employee within your company. And then finally, the onboarding process, the offboarding process. And that offboarding process consists of that employee's exit or separation from the company. So again, we'll focus today on employee management, and in particular the path for Personnel Action Form. I'd like to share with you some of the other HR solutions we have in the employee management category, and you'll see some of those there on your screen now. So let's jump into the Personnel Action Form. So as I mentioned earlier, this is such a commonly used form, and we can use it for so many different things, but there are a few things that may be different. First of all, the name. So today I'm calling it the PAF, or the Personnel Action Form. You could also call it a Personnel Action Notification, or even an Employee Status Change Form, an ESF, and there are others. Another difference is maybe how we access it. So maybe some of you have systems that allow you to use a manager self-service for your PAF processing. Some of you may use a fillable PDF, and some of you may start your process on paper. And what I've seen in most companies, whether you're accessing this through any of these ways, at some point this process does end up in a paper process. Maybe it's even just a file in your paper filing system. So another difference is how we route. So this could be through fax, inter-office mail, or even electronic mail or email. What I'd like to talk about now is what can the PAF do, and it can really do anything. And as I mentioned earlier, it can be used for any transaction within an employee's life cycle. So I've listed a few here: bonus, transfer, promotion, maybe it's for a new manager or a separation. And some companies choose to use it for even more transactions than this. You can use it for even parts of this. It's really customizable for your needs. I mentioned to you earlier offboarding that we use in a part of our HR solution, and we include the separation process as part of that offboarding, but many companies also include it with the PAF, and that's the beauty of this. Again, it's a customizable process, and we can set it up the way you like and what works for you. So I'm going to show you two screens here of the Personnel Action Form. And this is really a mock-up of just a sample that we've used in our own forms designer. And in this form, I'd like to just kind of point out a couple of things. So we are able to take any information that's currently in your HRIS system today and be able to populate fields within this form. So for example, if you we're able to input just the employee ID or even the employee name. From there, we can read any of the fields you'd like, that as long as your HRIS system holds that information. So this really helps a lot when it comes to being able to input those fields without having to go to different screens in your HRIS system to be able to look up and fill out the forms. So we can really expedite the process. Now I'm showing you the second page, and again, these are the transactions or recommended actions that we would have, and these can be customizable. The point I want to make on this is, just as we can pull information from HRIS, we can also take the information once this form is completed and upload it directly into your HRIS system. So this is huge. I mean, we're eliminating any keying or any manual entry. So it's a huge time saver. I'd like to show you a visual just to kind of give you an idea of how a path can make a route from different locations, different buildings, different cities, and always be in electronic format. It's not used in paper. So let's say, for example, the manager initiates the path in one location, and then a generalist would receive that path. And let's say, for example, this is a promotion. The generalist would have the responsibility to evaluate the information in the path and the justification. And then from there, upon approval, they may need to send it to a compensation person to validate the title that's being recommended for the promotion, and then also the salary increase. They may need to look at the promotion percentage guidelines or the salary guidelines and ranges for that particular title. And once that compensation person is comfortable with the path, then they can submit it for payroll in the HRIS system to have the data, like I mentioned earlier, immediately and automatically uploaded directly into HRIS. I'll show you another visual here of the same routing process that I just described. And what you're looking at is our actual workflow designer that we use within Perceptive software. And this is an easy drag and drop technology that has the ability to kind of build out the workflow, we call it, or the route in which that form needs to take as part of the approval process. So in this situation, the path is received, routed to the HR generalist, and then to the compensation person. Once the compensation person has completed their work, then it can simultaneously go to payroll for automatic upload into the HRIS system, and then also a copy back to the initiating manager so that that manager knows that path has been approved and that they can communicate the really good news to the employee. From that point, the path moves to completion, and that path is then stored automatically into that person's electronic personnel file. So again, this workflow designer is really flexible, and you can create different workflows depending upon your needs and the process that you have with your own company. And another thing too is if you were to have a one-off situation where you may not be following the actual workflow, you can actually do a one-off and manually route the document to another approver. So to kind of sum up some key points here, as I mentioned earlier, the path can be accessed from the portal. It could also be accessed from a link that can be sent to the person that needs to fill out the path. And then we can also pre-populate those fields in the form with any information that's in the HRIS system. Again, we can route to the necessary approvers, and then track whose desk it is on. So this is a key one, and I know as an HR professional, there are so many times I get a call from a manager wanting to know, where are we? Is it approved yet? Is it done yet? Where is it? And I certainly couldn't tell them. And with this system, we can actually go in and see exactly where that form is in the approval process and be able to report out on it. Security is also important, and we have the ability that only the necessary users are able to access the form. So in this case, maybe it's the manager, HR members, and payroll. Another thing to note is we are able to set up notifications and alarms to keep that form moving quickly through the process. So this is really great too, because we don't always know in our inbox what all is there. We are able to set it up so that that next level of approver knows by notification or alarm that they have an action to take and an approval to make on that form. Next, as I mentioned earlier, we're able to take the information from the completed e-form and upload it directly into your HRIS system. I think this is huge, and I love the fact that we can eliminate any room for error by having that manual keying and data entry removed from the process, so it makes it much more efficient and, of course, more accurate. And then we can also put manage retention around the document. So if that form is a document that does not need to stay in the employee file for the lifetime, we can put the rules around it so that that document can be retained only for the set forth period of time that you choose. So as far as efficiencies that I've covered today, first of all, we are eliminating the paper chase. So when you get those questions from managers or from employees about where we are in the process, you're able to answer them quickly because you can find that document. And so you're improving the coordination and you're moving more quickly with the workflow and increasing visibility and access. But I think the biggest thing here that's near and dear to my heart is we're really improving the employee service. An HR professional is always wanting to give good service, and by streamlining this process, you're able to do that. But it's also taking you out of a lot of the weeds of paperwork, and it's giving more time back to you so that you can focus on the strategic initiatives that you have on your plate. So that's what I have for now.
Kelly, thank you so much. I learned a ton. I did not realize that the PATH process could be so flexible. Now, I know we've had several questions coming in during today's presentation. I'll let you look those over, and in the meantime, I'll spend about 90 seconds talking about Perceptive software. So first of all, we were founded in 1995 in Kansas City. We build enterprise content management software, which simply put means that we build software solutions that are designed to solve real business challenges. And we do this for more than 2,500 organizations across more than 30 countries. We were acquired by Lexmark International last summer and operate as a standalone software business within Lexmark. We enjoy a lot of success and are also a rapidly growing company. We can attribute this to the value of experience that we have. We have significant experience in the back office. As you can see, 650 plus customers in AP, HR, and other areas. And our solutions can benefit specifically for HR, recruitment, onboarding, employee management, and offboarding. One of my favorite things about ImageNow is that it can scope to a very large deployment or a very small deployment. And overall, we are engineered to work with any ERP or any HRIS application across any industry. One of our biggest competitive advantages is our success and the fact that our customers really enjoy talking about the great things that we do. For example, JWT, one of the largest ad agencies in the U.S., finds value in the single-click access our software provides to secure documents associated with their HRIS, which is PeopleSoft. Additionally, Maurice's, a retail outlet with hundreds of retail stores, says that ImageNow is cost-effective, and those comments are echoed by Learning Care Group, a private education center. They talk about ROI, total cost of ownership, while also talking about enhanced visibility to documents. If you'd like to learn more, please contact us. Our website is listed here, along with our contact information, as well as information on how to find us on Facebook and on Twitter. So with that said, I'll bring us back to Kelly with some questions.
I have received a couple of questions here. First of all, we've had several questions about integrating with other HRIS systems, and I really didn't talk about that much, and so I'll share with you. Perceptive Software's patented technology, Learn Mode, has been used with over 900 different applications, from PeopleSoft and Lawson to also some homegrown or highly customized systems. So our non-programmatic approach to integration method means no coding is needed to integrate, and you will need to be able to retrieve images based on values found on the screen, like employee ID. Okay, we have another question. Our PATH process is highly concentrated in email today. Can you help a company like ours move to a more automated solution? Well, yes, ImageNow can automatically capture emails from a secure email address and begin the review and approval process in seconds, and that's without HR intervention. So specifically what I mean by that is if you have a form and you address it to a specified email address, we can set it up so that directly goes straight into ImageNow. You can also utilize eForms to capture that information from your existing portal and automatically have it submitted to workflow so HR is immediately notified and can take action on the form from there.
Kelly, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I think our audience did as well. I know I personally learned a lot, and can't say thank you enough.